I'm playing the game. I'm about to die, right? Like, these things are coming towards me at record-breaking speed, and I really want water. And now I can go and get my water. Have you ever seen those memes where it's like, oh, me when I'm gaming, but my mom tells me to pause the online game? Get it? Because it's funny, because your mother is stupid and illiterate. Right, that's the joke here. But I mean, jokes aside, like, this has been, I think, very prevalent for a lot of people, where, you know, occasionally someone might ask them to pause a game that is online, right? And sometimes you honestly kind of wish you could, right? Like, I don't know, you're playing some big ranked game and your mother is like, son, please, the couch fell on me and I need help. But you're about to de-rank back to gold 3, and so it's a very difficult decision to make. Which one do you do, right? And in moments like these, you wish you could pause an online game. Like, you wish you could just say, guys, please, give me 2 minutes, right? Or not even guys, just like, game, pause for 2 minutes, stop the timer, stop everything, give me 2 minutes, I'll go help my mother with whatever, you know, lifting the couch, blah, blah, blah. And I'll come back and I'll continue, and I'm not going to de-rank to gold 3. And so this gave me a really interesting idea, right? I know this is a very, like, stupid prompt, but could we make something like that? Like, obviously you can make a system where, like, the player can pause the game, obviously, but could you do it in a way that is balanced? Because I'm pretty sure Valve's Deadlock, like Valve released a new game, it's like a shooter MOBA thing or whatever, and in there I'm pretty sure anyone's able to pause the server. I think there's like a time limit. Again, I don't know anything other than the fact that you can pause the game, and the fact that they added that to the game made me wonder whether you actually could add something like that and make it work. And so yeah, you know, I started deeply pondering that question. I became the thinker. I started, like, you know, having my knuckle on my chin, like, deeply pondering this every single day. And in this video, I think I found a good solution. Now, I haven't actually tested this yet. I haven't really made a version of the game yet. However, I have done some thinking. I have thought about this, and I'm gonna script it in this video, obviously. But let me just really quickly show you what I'm trying to do. Now, when I say pause, right, I mean pause. So I mean stop the characters, right? We need to stop every single part as well. Like, as in Roblox, it's like, you know, you have parts flying around or whatever. Stop all, like, effects. Basically anything that's just a moving particle should be stopped. And also animations, right? So stuff like tweens, like when a part, you know, is like moving around, or when, like, a character is, like, you know, running around. We want to stop all of that fully. And I will also add script, right? So sometimes script might be doing something, and you have to account for the fact that when the game is paused, the script should also stop what it's doing as well. And the reason I'm kind of, like, almost separating the script from everything else is because there's not really a feature in Roblox that allows you to just click a button and just halt what a script is doing. You are able to disable scripts, right? So you might be like, oh yeah, that's kind of how it works. The problem with doing that, though, is that it disables practically everything that a script does. And occasionally you might still want to do certain things, right? So enabling or disabling the script isn't going to work. So when writing scripts, we just have to ensure that it accounts for the fact that the game could be paused. Now, there's obviously more to this that we can add. Like, obviously, just making a pause feature isn't really going to balance anything, right? Like, we still need to make it so that the players can pause it. We need to make some cooldown system where players can't just keep, you know, spamming pauses. We could also make, like, a voting system where, like, players can vote on, like, hey, this guy wants to pause the game again. Everyone can vote to allow the game to be paused or not, right? Like, just something like that. And so let's actually script exactly this, right? So I'm just gonna call this pause script, like so. And I'm gonna make 2 functions, okay? I'll say local function pause game, like so. And I'll make another function called local function unpause game, okay? So in both of these functions, we're gonna write some code that just does everything that I listed here. So, okay, let's just go over this really quickly, right? Whenever the game is paused, we want to stop the characters, the parts, effects, and I said animations and script, but the thing about animations is that they are tied to script as well, because the animation I'm talking about is tweening, and, you know, if you haven't script before, you probably don't know what this is, but tweening is simply a way to animate one number to smoothly transition to another number. So you can use this to like gradually make a part bigger, right? Or like to move a part gradually from one position to another position. That's what a tween is, right? We have animations that are like character animations, but those should be stopped if we just anchor the characters in one spot. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say for I v in workspace get descendants to, and what this will do is it's gonna loop through every single item inside of the workspace. And the workspace, if you don't know, this is like the 3D world. Everything that's visible is inside of the workspace. And so we can just say if v is a base part and not v is a terrain, because for some reason terrain is also considered a base part. I don't know why, like it's stupid why they do that. But yeah, so we want to only affect real parts. We don't want to affect the terrain. And we can say then v dot anchored is equal to true end. So what this is going to do is it's going to set the anchored property of this base part equal to true, which means that it's going to be locked in place, unaffected by physics, by gravity, by anything. And this accounts for both characters and parts, because what a character is it's just composed of a lot of parts. And the other thing as well that we wanted to change were particles. And what's actually interesting is that this thing called a particle emitter, there are other like particle items, like there are beams, there are, like explosions and all of that. But for this example, I'm just gonna do particle emitters because like something like an explosion or whatever, they have their own properties that like determine the speed of the particle, right? So it is possible and it is easy to set this up for every single particle. It would just kind of be unnecessary, right? Because I would just have to retype a bunch of properties that effectively do the same thing. I know the way I just explained it probably didn't make too much sense, but point is, to save time, I'm gonna only do the particle emitter. But if you want to do the other particles, it's also very easy. It's just that the properties aren't named the same thing for some reason, and I would just have to write a bunch of properties, which is just stupid and annoying. And particles have this property called time scale, right? Which when set to 0, the particles just freeze, like so, right? And when you set them back to 1 or whatever, they continue right where they left off. So we would also just have to say if v is a particle emitter, then v dot time scale is equal to 0 end. And then we just have to do the exact same thing, but for an on-pause game, right? So here we're going to set anchored to be false, and here we're going to set timescale to be 1. And something I'm just realizing right now, actually, is that if we do something like this, so for example, right, let's say I'll do task.wait 3 seconds, right? Then we're going to print pausing, okay? And then we're going to run the function, pause game. Then we're going to wait, let's say another 3 seconds, and then we're going to print unpausing, and then we're going to run the unpause game function. And I'm going to show you how this is going to look. There is a major issue that I've identified with this script, which you will see in a bit. But let's just see if the character things, and also if the particle is actually stopping. So let's see, right? If I play the game, I'm moving around, I'm jumping around. Okay, it's paused. And now, yep, there we go. Okay. So the massive error that I forgot to account for is that it's setting every single part to not be anchored, even though some parts should be anchored from the beginning. So like the spawn location and the base plate, they shouldn't be falling down. They should be staying in one spot. And sometimes your game might have like certain parts, like maybe your game has like a house that shouldn't be affected by gravity. Like you just want the house to be standing upright, or you want the roof to be standing upright. But then what this script will do is, even if your part was already anchored to begin with, it's just going to set it to be not anchored, and your house is going to fall apart. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to identify parts that were already anchored from the very beginning and do nothing to them. So basically, we only want to affect the parts that are not anchored. And so here's how I'm thinking we can do this, okay? I'm going to take this if statement, and I'm actually going to expand it so that it's no longer on one line. And I'm going to copy and delete this. And instead, I'm going to say if v.anchored is equal to true. So if the part is already anchored, then what we want to do is we want to somehow add an identifier to the part to say, hey, listen, this is supposed to be anchored, so that when we unpause the game, we don't unanchor this part. And what we could use is every single item, like literally every single item, even the workspace thing, has this thing called a tag. And a tag is literally just you can just attach a piece of text to something. Like I can say, I don't know, anchored. And now it's going to have a tag called anchored. And inside of a script, I can add tags, I can remove tags, and I can check if something has a tag. So what we could do is we could just say v add tag anchored, like so. So if something is meant to be anchored, we give it the tag anchored and do nothing else. But otherwise, if it's not anchored, that's when we anchor it. And over here in unpaused game, I'm going to do the same thing, but the opposite of it. So I'm going to say if v has tag anchored, it means that it should be anchored, so we shouldn't actually change it, right? Then I'll say v remove tag anchored, right? And do nothing else. And the reason I'm removing the tag, by the way, is because whenever we pause the game, we're adding a new tag. So if I don't remove tags, we're just going to keep adding tags to it, which is just kind of stupid. And the other reason why I'm doing it this way as well is that sometimes a part might be anchored, but then like in the middle of the game, it might stop being anchored, right? Like that happens sometimes. And so we're also doing this to account that like a part's anchored property could change. So we have to always keep checking whether a part is anchored or not. We can't just say, oh, this part is anchored now, so it's going to be anchored forever in the future, right? That just doesn't make any sense. But again, if the part doesn't have the tag, then we're going to set it back to be false. And so let's see how this is going to work, okay? I'm going to go in here. I'm going to, play around, run around. Okay, paused. And now, great. Yeah, look at that. So I got unpaused, the particle emitter got unpaused, but the spawn location and the base plate remain unchanged. Amazing. And this is kind of a small thing, but I also want to make the pause look a little cooler. So what I'll probably do is I'm going to add a blur effect, which I'll call pause blur, like so. And I will also add a color correction effect, which I will call pause color. And what a color correction is, I've actually made a video on this thing where I set these numbers to be like really high. Like I set it to be like something like this. Like this looks kind of cool. But the point of a color correction is that it's supposed to, allow you to kind of modify colors. Like maybe, you can make the colors more saturated, right? You can add more color, or you can remove color, which is actually exactly what I want to do. So I want to remove the color, make it maybe a little more contrasted, and maybe reduce the brightness by a little bit. So yeah, whenever the player pauses the game, I want to enable both of these, but usually they should be disabled, right? So the game usually looks like this, but in this case, it's going to look like this. And I also want to add some text that says pause, like in the very middle of the screen. So let's see, pause GUI, I'm going to add a text label, which I will call pause label, sure. And yeah, just remove the background color, make it scaled along with the box. Let's see, what would be a good font? Literally every single person on Earth seems to use Fredoka 1. And look, I like the font, okay? I think it looks bubbly and cute and nice and everything. But I want something that just says pause, like just in the middle of the screen. Like, what do you think would be a good font? I want like something thick, I want something to like be like, hey, like the game is paused, like in big bold letters. Okay, you know what? This font it is. And I'm probably going to add a UI stroke to the text as well, which is just like basically an outline, right? And so I'm going to make the outline kind of grayish like so. So yeah, we have text. It says paused. The game is now paused. Amazing. But obviously when the game is just starting, we don't want to show the player this, right? So I'm going to set this to be invisible, and I'll do the same exact thing for the pause color and the pause blur. And right now, the only thing we really have to do is just we need to add a button that allows every single player to click the button and then pause the game. Now, before I do that, I do have to say that I have really, really terrible news, okay? So usually from this YouTube channel, I make about like maybe $60,000, $70,000 a month. Like I stopped counting, like it's just small numbers, right? But around 75K a month I earn from this channel. And yesterday I made 76K as usual. It's kind of a bad month for me right now, but I'm surviving, right? But this month, I've only made $73,000. So I've made $3,000 less than the previous month. And this is very terrible. I can't survive off of this. So what I'll tell you to do right now is go subscribe to the channel, because that's going to give me more views, more ads, more everything, right? And, I might, with your generous help, I might get up to like 100K, which to me, it's normal. Like I'm surviving on that money, right? So go subscribe. help me reach, you know, a measly $100K a month. But also 100K subs would be cool, because then I'll get the little play button, which I can then show on like the Discord server, and then you could be like, that's cool, and then you'd forget all about it because you don't really care. But jokes aside, do subscribe. And another thing I was gonna say is that I have a course, it's in the description and the pinned comment. It teaches you so much that people have literally told me that like they had like an out-of-body experience. Like they were looking at the course, and the next thing you know, they're like above their body and they're like flying around, and it's like, wow, like they've been enlightened spiritually. So, you know, if you want to get something like along the lines of that, go check out the course and consider buying. But look, okay, what we need to do right now, right? Because let's really think about this. Again, I haven't playtested this. I have playtested this, but not the button. I haven't done the button yet. I don't know exactly how I want it to function. My basic idea is I want to have a button that, like in a real game, it probably won't be an entire button. Let's just work with kind of what we have right now, right? Let's just make a button to make everything really clear. And the button should say pause game, and I think the button should also say how much pauses are left, because I feel like we should add a limit to how many times you can pause. So let's actually do that right now. Okay, so I'm gonna add a text button, and I don't want to put too much effort into making this thing look good, honestly, because I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna add a UI corner. I'm gonna make this thing bold. I'm gonna make let's make the text size like this big. Yeah, I think that looks good. And then we could name this something like pause game, 5 pauses left. Oh, that looks kind of bad. What if we do... Okay, yeah, that looks a lot better. Now, in a real game, clicking this probably would show up like a warning first, because like you wouldn't just click this and like pause the game immediately. Like a real game probably would like, you know, pop up a little menu saying like, hey, be careful, like this will pause the game for everyone, and you can only do this like one time before people will have to like start voting on your pauses. So the way that I'm going to do this is inside of the text button, I'm going to make a frame. I'm going to make the frame about this big, and I'm just going to put it over here. And so yeah, what I'll do is I'm going to add some text over here, right? I just kind of copied the paused text that we have over here. I'm just going to call this a warning label. So what this label is going to do is, you probably guessed it, it's just going to say warning like so. And then I guess we could also make it red, like, I don't know, make it more like, yeah, there we go, look at that. And yeah, I'm gonna clone it, I'll set it back to black, and I'm just going to say warning. And then we also probably do want to give a description as to like what we're actually warning the player of. So warning, you are about to pause the game for everyone or I guess in the server for, let's say 30 seconds. Okay, I think the pause should last around 30 seconds. This will put the pause on a 2-minute cooldown for everyone, and will require player voting if you pause for a second time. Yeah, there we go. You're about to pause the game for everyone on the server for 30 seconds. This will put the pause for a 2-minute cooldown and require player voting if you pause for a second time. And so yeah, then we can just copy the button like over here, but then we can make the background color like black, like somewhat like this. We can make the text color, we can make it red, honestly. I think this looks pretty cool. Yeah, and then it could just be the same thing. Pause game, 5 pauses left. And what I'll do is I'll call this pause button, like so. I'm gonna call this pause button 2, and I'm gonna call this, I guess frame. Well, yeah, I think just frame is fine. And I'm also going to hide the frame for now. And so here's what I'm gonna do, okay? I'm gonna add a local script inside of the paused UI, and I'm gonna start off by making variables for every single item that we actually are going to use. So first of all, let's actually start with the things that will show up when we, pause the game. So I'll say local pause. I keep misspelling it. I'm gonna copy it. There we go. Local pause color, local pause blur, local pause text, or I guess no, pause label. Yeah, because we called it pause label. Local pause button, local pause frame, and we could also do the same thing for a local pause button 2, sure. And so pause color is game, lighten, wait for child, pause color. All right, there we go. So I just made all of these variables. And this next section of code will be kind of boring. So I'm just going to show you like a time lapse of, me coding. But in short, what I'm aiming to do here is that, again, whenever the player presses this button, I want the warning message to pop up. Then when the player clicks the button again, what I'll do is I'm going to send a message to the server to, okay, pause the game, right? I'm going to remove the warning message, obviously. I'm going to pause the game for 30 seconds exactly. And then after that's done, I'm going to put the thing on a cooldown, and I'm just going to like maybe make it say here like, oh, you have like 30 seconds left until you can pause again, or like something like that. But like after I'm done, I will show you like the code and like how it looks, just in case you want to, copy it down or something. Alright, so I just spent a good chunk of time working on this. Basically, this is the script, so I'll just scroll through if you want to see it. So the idea here is that the player will, press the button that's on the, corner. The frame will show up that has the second button. Once the second button gets pressed, it does like some checks to ensure that like the player is actually able to press it so that, it's not on cooldown. The one thing that I haven't done is I haven't actually made the text updates to like show like, oh yeah, like you have this many seconds left. Just because it would take like a bit too much time. But what I can do here is I can actually print. I can print paused. Here I can print unpaused. And here I can print off cooldown. So instead of 30 seconds, I could make the pause last 3 seconds and then the cooldown 12 seconds instead of 2 minutes, right? And let's just see how well this works, right? So I'm going to play the game, pause game. You're about to pause the game for everyone in the server, blah, blah, blah. Again, this is my first time playtesting this. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but let's just see. Okay. Okay. So that's still showing up. But let's see, is it going to go off cooldown? Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, that's kind of stupid. So what I'm gonna do then, I'm gonna fire this thing alongside the. Actually, no. I'm just gonna put this inside of the unpaused game function. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna fire the same exact event to every client, however, without the times paused property. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the exact same thing to the pause color and to the pause blur. We're gonna disable them. But then I'll say if times paused is equal to nil, then return end. So all we're doing is we're just removing the blur and the color. And also, actually, I guess we want to remove the text as well. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to remove the label. But we don't want the button to come back. So the label, the color, and the blur are gone, but the rest will stay until we fire again, this time with the actual information. I know I probably described it in somewhat of a confusing way, but point is, it should all work now. So pause game, yep. It's paused. And now, yep, there we go. And just to ensure that the limit of only 5 pauses actually works, let's just really quickly test that. Okay, pause game, pause, yep, it's paused, unpaused, off cooldown, pause, unpaused, off cooldown, pause, unpause, pause, okay, paused, great, and 1 pause left. Let's see, pause game. Okay, so it's still showing paused, but it's not actually pausing the game. Okay, so that's good, at least that part works. I guess what I'll do now is I'll make a variable called local times paused local, and I'm gonna set this equal to 0. And so then I'm just going to say times pause local plus equals 1. And then I'll say if times paused local is more than or equal to 5, then return end. And so let's see, if we just wait absolutely nothing, because I am curious to see how well this is going to work. Pause, okay, pause, okay, pause, pause, pause. Now let's see. Yes, yes, amazing. Okay, this is very nice. All right, let me just set the numbers back to be the correct amounts. And now, for a final test, I want to do something fun. I want to test this out as if we're playing like a real, actual game. All right, so I just finished this little contraption up, and this will serve as the ultimate test. I know it doesn't look like an ultimate test, but this will serve as the ultimate test for this pause feature. Because again, I started this video off by saying like, people do sometimes need this. Sometimes they gotta go grab a drink, or maybe not a drink, but like, I don't know, sometimes their like food delivery comes in and they want to go grab it, and like so that people don't steal it, or they have to help their mom with the couch or whatever. And I've made a game to kind of highlight that, right? So I made a game that puts you into a high pressure environment where you also can use the pause feature to go and do something quickly, and also not have to worry about the fact that like the game is running and that you might get shot, or you might get killed by the environment or whatever. So what this is, the game that I've just made, I don't even know what it's called. It's just a little obstacle course, right? So the idea here is like you have these parts and they're like all moving towards you, right? Oh no, we have the particle that I forgot to remove. And so this is a fairly easy obstacle course, nothing too hard. But then, like, I don't know, imagine being here and you suddenly are like, damn, like, I'm really thirsty. Like, I really want a sip of water. Usually, you'd have to go and finish the game, which, in this case, it's not that long. Honestly, like, it's a very short game, you know? Yeah, there we go. I finished the game. But let's assume I'm playing the game, right? These things are going towards me, and I will die if I touch them. And I'm just really thirsty, right? And I'm like, damn, I have to finish the game, and it's gonna take me 10 minutes or whatever, right? Or, with this feature... Okay, wait. Right, okay. I said this in the very beginning, right? We have to script things to account for the fact that the game might be paused. So, okay, final thing, for real this time. I'm gonna make a bool value called isPaused, okay? And whenever the game gets paused, I'm gonna say workspace, wait for child, isPaused, dot value is equal to true. And then whenever we unpause, it's going to be equal to false. And over here, I'm going to say if workspace wait for child is paused dot value is equal to true, then continue end. So we do nothing if the game is actually paused. But okay, just to up the shock factor, let's increase this to like 0.6, okay, instead of 0.2. So it's going to be moving 3 times as fast. So let's say I'm playing the game, I'm about to die, right? Like these things are coming towards me at record-breaking speed, and I really want water. And now I can go and get my water. In fact, let me actually go and get some water right now. Okay, I'm back. I got a glass, and we're still paused. Very nice. And maybe just in time, I can jump off and avoid colliding with these things. Damn, 30 seconds is a lot longer than I thought. Yep, there we go. Look at that. Amazing game, I know. And then the pause goes on a 2-minute cooldown, and I was able to get my drink. Now I'm no longer thirsty, and I didn't die, and I'm still having fun. Now, obviously, is this fully balanced? Probably not. Like, were there some things that I should have added that I didn't in this video to save time? Also true. One thing that I was going to add that I mentioned in the beginning was player voting. So perhaps after the game has been paused 2 times, the next time it becomes paused, players will be required to like kind of cast a vote. So it's like, I don't know, like this guy, like it'll just show up as like a little pop-up. It's not going to take up the entire screen, but like a little pop-up like, this guy wants to pause the game, yes or no. And then maybe like 30% of people have to click yes for the pause to actually come into fruition. And like the guy in chat could be like, hey guys, I really need to go pick up my delivery order or whatever. Can you please pause the game so I can go pick it up real quick? This is how I think a pause could work, right? I think you gotta give one pause to a player for free, and then afterwards, or like one pause or two pauses, whatever. Maybe one pause is better than two, actually. But yeah, you give them one pause, and then afterwards you bring other players into this, because obviously you don't want to waste their time as well, right? And do leave a comment on what you would add, or like what you would do differently, because I am curious, right? Because again, I didn't think this through too much beforehand. I didn't do any playtesting beforehand. This is just the roughest draft that I could come up with. And I'm just curious how you would do it to make it like fully fair. Like how, like if you were in charge of like a game like I don't know, Overwatch or like TF2 or Apex Legends or whatever, just like one of those like, you know, fast-paced shooter games, how would you implement a pause system similar to this one, where like it's fair for both the person who pauses and also for the people who are getting paused and have to wait 30 seconds. Like, I think my voting system is pretty good. Like, personally, I mean, obviously, yeah, it would be annoying to get paused for 30 seconds, but like, if I'm given a say in it, I wouldn't really be too upset. I think if the majority of players want the game to be paused, fine, okay? I could just leave the server if I really don't want the game to be paused and just play with players who are just like me and they want to play the game and not be paused. And yeah, again, you know, leave a comment. Let me know what you would change. Just like I said before, you know, I am very, very broke right now. Only, you know, like I said, 80,000 a month or something like that. So do subscribe, and not just for the money, honestly. Real talk right now, right? But just because there's so much dumb content in just the Roblox space in general. Like, and when I say dumb, I mean, if you go into YouTube and look up Roblox, you're gonna see really, really just weird stuff, like really weird, like some guy like with his mouth open and like saturation is up to like 900%, and he's like, this new Roblox game is insane, and then the thumbnail is like some like half-naked anime Roblox avatar, or like, it's just dumb and it's stupid. Like, instead I want to see more of this, more of cool development stuff, right? Like more of just interesting things to get people, you know, interested in scripting. And I think that so far I'm the only person who's gotten even somewhat of a following who's been doing this. So do subscribe, because you will help more people recognize the videos. You'll help more people get into this, and also it means that more people will make videos like this, more innovation, more videos, and these people will also get a lot out of their videos. So it's a win-win-win for literally every single person. So yeah, go subscribe, and once again, if you're interested, you like my teaching style, go check out my course. It is $40 usually, but there is a free preview, so you could go check that out. If you like it, buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it. And yeah, if you actually want to follow along with what I've just done here, you can, and I think you should, because I would honestly be really interested to see like what people could come up with. What I will tell you to do is, if you do want to make a game, or even just like a little feature like this one, make one, improve on it. So don't just make a bland copy, unless you're doing it to learn, right? But if you want to show off, make something new, make something cool, take a screenshot or a video, post it to the Discord server, you know, show it to people, and you know, I might see it too. And I am really curious, because I do really want to see like what people could come up with that's better than what I've done, which is literally impossible. Like, again, I'm the best coder ever, but if there happens to be a guy who's just so much better than me, do share, because I do want to see what you've done. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Again, go subscribe, help the channel out, and as always, we are back to basics. Thank you for watching.